We are all out on the roads, driving around our 2-ton or heavier trucks with little more than a cafeteria tray size surface area worth of rubber meeting the road. What you put under your truck matters, so let's talk about it. We're going to cover a lot in this video, and I promise you we're going to cover as well what are the most popular tires for our trucks. But it's going to be a learning journey, so stick with me. And without further ado, let's get started. Tire sizes are displayed in two ways, metric and standard. Let's start with metric, looking at my tires here. So this is a light truck or SUV tire. It is 285 millimeters wide. It is an aspect ratio of 70, meaning 70% of 285 is the height of the sidewall. It is a radial tire, and we go back to inches here, but it is a 17-inch wheel. So if I converted my metric tire size to standard, it would be very similar to a 33 by 11.5 R17. So it's a 33-inch tall tire, it's 11.5 inches wide, it's a radial tire, and its wheel is 17 inches. A lot easier in our American minds than the metric size when you don't have to worry about aspect ratio. Now, I've said the word radial at least twice now, so let's quickly hit on radial versus bias ply tires. Ply are the parts, the layers that make up the tire beneath what you can normally see on just a surface tread. So radial, just really pay attention to red and yellow here. Radial is a uniform overlapping, while bias is usually a 30 to 45 degree overlapping. Radial for vehicle on-road tires will pretty much always be the case, while you can often find bias in the agricultural world, such as tractors. So for our trucks and SUVs, and really any truck, tires come in pretty much three primary categories: all-season, all-terrain, and mud-terrain. So let's start with all-season and discuss the pros and cons of each one of these. All seasons are going to be lightweight, meaning they have less rolling resistance, which is going to lead to better fuel mileage. They're going to be usually less expensive, but that's not always the case. They're going to have a mileage warranty, which we'll talk about later, and they're going to be quiet. They're not going to hum on the road. Now, some cons are they don't look as aggressive if you care about that, and they're going to have less than optimal traction off-road or in the snow. There's better options out there. All-terrains are going to be the most common category we like to upgrade, you could say, our tires to. They're going to be more aggressive looking, they're going to have improved off-road traction, and they're more than likely going to have a mileage warranty. However, they can be louder when you're going down the highway. Not all of them, but some of them. And if you care about that, and they're probably going to have reduced fuel efficiency, or they will, compared to an all-season tire, just because there's more rolling resistance and it's a heavier tire. Now, finally, mud terrains are going to have maximum traction off-road. Think of it as a hiking boot. It's really just going to grip to everything. It's a heavier tire. So being heavier, it's going to be reduced fuel efficiency, and it will be loud. The gaps in between all that tread are going to make a hum on the highway that can be sometimes comically loud, where you're either turning up the radio or you just get used to it. A buddy of mine's got mud terrain tires, and I can hear him driving from, honestly, a half mile away. It is terrible. So yeah, these are the three main categories we're going to move into next, now that we're about to discuss best tires for our trucks. Okay, from left to right, in the all-season category, we've got the Michelin Defender LTX, the Firestone Destination, and the Continental Terrain Contact. Now, I want you to do your own research. I'm just going to tell you, the Michelin Defenders have long been considered the best all-season tire you can get. So, links below, check them out. Alright, in the all-terrain category, the competition gets really stiff. I'll tell you right now, you can't go wrong with any of these three. The BF Goodwrench KO3, which is the successor to the KO2, is considered great. However, on the left there, the Falcon Wild Peak AT4W is a successor to the AT3W. Both of those tires are fantastic. I'm running the AT3W on my 4th gen. The Toyo Open Country AT is also a very popular choice. Again, do your own research, but you can't go wrong in this category with any of these three. All right, in the mud terrain category, again, you've got a stiff competition. The General Tire Grabber X3 on the left is a very popular option. The BF Goodwrench in the middle, it is the KM3 model, again, very popular. And then you have the Toyo over there on the right with the Open Country MT. So you can't go wrong with any of these. Go ahead, check them out, and they're all linked below. So when I say linked below, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. We've now partnered with TireRack.com, and any purchase you get, which is probably already going to be the best deal for those tires anyway, is going to help the channel because Tire Rack's going to pay a small cut to the channel, keep the lights on over here. And yeah, just really appreciate y'all for everything. No pressure, but if you choose to help us that way, that's awesome. And if you didn't know, Tire Rack's gonna send those tires free ship to the tire installer near you of your choice. So pretty easy gig overall. Anyway, back to the show. Let's talk about tire size and a metric size, which is currently on my truck, and what it spells out in standard or inches. So the 285/70/17 on my truck is pretty much a 33-inch tire, just a bit shy. Now, something to note on this, not all 285 tires are created the same. You might see 285/70/17 in one brand, and it's slightly different overall diameter from another one. It's kind of a manufacturer thing, but this, just go off of this and forget I just said that. However, yeah, so it's about a 33-inch tire. It's a little shy of 11.5 inches tall, and then, or wide, excuse me, and then you can see its sidewall and its overall circumference. You don't really care about this, and especially circumference. No one says, yeah, my tire's 102.7 inches all the way around, man. I mean, that's not a thing, but it's kind of cool to know. What I really want you to see here is tire comparison. So let's put what was on my truck stock, which was a 265/70/17, and compare it to what I put on my truck right after getting it. Okay, so let's hit compare here. Now, this is live. It looks like it's using a BFG all-terrain as a tread pattern here. It's kind of neat, but I used to have a 31.6-inch diameter tire, now a 32.7 inch. And yes, 1.1 inch difference, 3.5% difference is actually quite a bit. It's funny. You think, oh, that truck's only got 3 inches of lift. 3 inches is a lot of lift. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. Original tire compared to current tire. Just a size comparison here. But you can really see how everything went up here. Now, if you look down here, this is really big. And it spells out not just in your speedometer, but also your odometer. It's not going to show odometer here, but we can do basic math to find out 100 miles on your odometer with factory tires is going to be different than 100 miles with larger tires. We'll talk about that later. But namely, if you're going 80 down the highway and you're thinking, okay, it's a 70 mile an hour speed limit highway, or 75, maybe you're in Texas, I don't know, and you're doing 80, well, you're actually doing closer to 83. So a cop might see you going 8 over instead of 5 over because you have a larger tire size now. So that's something really important to note. But this is a really good calculator, and I'm going to link this below. Okay, one more thing to compare. The reason why I like this calculator so much is when I've got this 285/70/17, which also happens to be a very good tire size for a 4th gen Tacoma without having to do any modifications or lift. You can look over here and look at alternate tire sizes. So a 285/70/17 is also going to be similar to a 255/75/17, or it's going to be fairly similar to a 33 by 12.5 17. Now, if you change your wheel size, you can start seeing, if you want that same look of a 285/70/17, you can start switching your wheel size. Maybe you have a different trim size on your trucks, like the hybrid version of the 4th gen is going to have an 18-inch wheel. And you can start seeing, all right, a 275/65/18 is a total diameter of 32.1 when it's a 32.7 over here. So they're similar. They're not identical, but you can get the idea. And this is going to come in handy a lot when you start going down the rabbit hole of choosing your perfect tire. Maybe you're trying to find one that's cheaper than another, or whatever. It's just, this is good information to know here. So again, linking all this below. All right, let's look at the question almost every new Tacoma owner has, and that is, what is the largest tire I can put on my truck without lifting it? Well, it depends. There's a lot of factors. So look at, first, find your generation. Let's say you have a third generation that has 17-inch wheels and you are not lifted. Well, that's my truck. You can run a 265 70 R17, or alternatively, another common size for a 17-inch rim is a 255 75 R17. Now, if you look closely, the second gen sizes are the same. For fourth gen, we found that we can stuff easily, which I've done with mine, a much larger tire. A 285 70 R17 is in my fourth gen, and the hybrid boys that have the 18-inch rim can run 285 65 R18s. Now, this is not an end-all be-all list. You will find other sizes that can fit, although they're going to be less common sizes and probably more expensive. You also need to know that this does not include the 5-lug 2-wheel drive, very base models, as they have a different setup. And this chart is only referring to factory rims, wheels, because of something called offset, which we'll talk about next. All right, offset. See the part of the wheel right there where the lug nuts are? That's the part that's holding it to the truck, obviously. So let's do a little arts and crafts and explain it. Here is a wheel drawn as if you're looking down on it from top down. To the left, roadside. To the right, truck side. Here is a line going down the middle to show you the dead center. If you have a offset that is positive, it's going to look like this, meaning that you're going to have a positive offset. I'm giving you an example of 20 millimeters. If you have zero offset, it's dead center of the wheel, and it's going to be an offset of 0. If you have offset negatively, it's going to be towards the truck more. So what does this mean? Well, the green line here is to help explain to you or visualize the body lines of the truck. So negative, the wheel is pushed out. 0, the wheel is centered, and if it's a positive offset, the wheel is tucked in, which is what we see most of the time on our vehicles. So a factory offset on a Tacoma, and really most vehicles on the road, is going to be leaning towards the positive side, meaning that the majority of the wheel is tucked up under the truck, and the tire therefore is tucked up under it as well. So keep that in mind when you do wheel shopping, that if you stray far, or any really, from your default factory offset, you're going to have a different swing angle of your tires, which means it might rub more or less. Keep that in mind. All right, before I shut up about offset, let's do one quick check on learning. So, which of these has positive offset? If you said the one on the left, you're right. And then the final part, what do you think we call the blue line area behind the mounting face? If you thought backspacing, you won. All right, moving on. So here's the point of the show where I cover a few more important things to know that you could live without, but it's just good to be armed with this knowledge. So let's jump right in with mileage warranties. You see, say 70,000 miles, 50,000 miles on a lot of tires. That's not a guarantee the tires will last that long. No. It's the manufacturer saying, if you have a defect that was our fault in the tire within that mileage window, we will possibly replace the tire, but more than likely give you a credit towards your next set of tires. So it's not as nice as it sounds, but it's a good thing to have regardless. All right, next good thing to know. If you are in the market for tires and you want snow traction, look for this, the 3-peak mountain snowflake symbol. What this is simply indicating is that the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association has identified this tire as having better traction on snow versus those tires that don't have this symbol. Okay, load ranges. This is an absolute rabbit hole. I want you to walk away from this video just knowing two things. Load range E is generally too heavy of a tire for a mid-sized truck like we drive, and you're going to start seeing XL more commonly. What used to be very popular only in Europe is now being adopted in an effort to kind of bring everything worldwide together. Tire rating size or range size, XL or extra load, will start commonly being seen on tires we buy for our trucks. I'm going to link a great article below if you want to educate yourself even more beyond that. Otherwise, this video would go on for days and I would make tons of ad revenue, which I hate. I figured we would close this video with a couple little neat things to know, starting with tire siping. What the heck is siping? We see those squiggly lines? Those are cutting or small grooves in the tread that basically the idea is it allows slightly better traction on flat surfaces, as well as water or snow, and well, water really, an ability to escape when the tire squishes it down on the road. Not every tire is going to have this, but it's not uncommon to find. So now you know about siping. Now you're wondering about those holes there. Those holes are so you can install tire studs. Basically little metal cleats that allow you to grip snowy, icy roads better. They don't really serve a purpose on paved roads or dry roads. In fact, they can damage surfaces or ruin the studs quickly. But if you live on backcountry, snowy, icy roads, you probably know what these are. I'll also drop a link below on what states allow as far as studs go and when they're allowed. A lot of states don't allow them, some do. And finally, those little hairy guys right there. This allows your tire to feel the road to get a better, I'm just kidding. These are vent spews. The tire manufacturing process squeezes liquid tire through holes like this into the mold, and this is the remainder. So yes, could seeing vent spews kind of mean the tire's newer? Sure, but these can also last for many thousands of miles, so ignore those. They don't do anything but look cool and confuse a lot of people. And on a closing note, I just wanted to say, look, you got a nice truck. Don't buy the cheapest tires you can possibly find. Don't get the no-name things off of God knows where. Just get something proper. Be safe. Keep your family safe. But thanks for listening to me rant. And if you do buy through TireRack.com at the links below, you know, I'm just going to be a happy guy. I'll see you next time on Team Oil Drop.